Hey, good afternoon. My name is Chris Demers. I'm the Extension Program Manager at the University of Florida IFAS School of Forest Fisheries and Geomatic Sciences. I run our Florida Land Steward Program. I want to welcome you all to today's webinar about the American Forest Foundation's Fields and Forest Program. Over the last year, there have been a number of different carbon-related programs that have come on my radar, so I was thinking it'd probably be a good idea to do a webinar series about some of these that I've been learning about. Some programs have been in operation for some time in different parts of the country and are now moving into the Southeast and becoming active in our region. So it's a good time to get some outreach about these programs. And today's program, I learned about earlier in the early part of this year, in the early spring of 2025. Started doing a little bit of research about the program and started getting the word out. And I thought it'd probably be a good idea to do a webinar about this particular program called the Fields and Forest Program. A few housekeeping things before we get too much further into the program. I want to share with you that I'm joined today by Courtney Miller and Molly Hooks, both of which work for the American Forest Foundation and operate this program in different capacities. And their contact information is up there. They're going to actually share contact information in their presentation as well. My contact information is there. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to get connected to our resources, just drop me a line at any time and we'll get you connected. We encourage you to interact with us via the chat or the question and answer function that's part of the Teams interface there. If you don't have access to the question and answer function, then use the chat to ask questions, and we'll go ahead and answer questions at the end of the presentations. I want to encourage you also to share your feedback with us. After the presentation, I'll be providing a QR code and a link to a very short evaluation form that you can give us some feedback on. In particular, we're interested in how many acres that you're managing and the number of acres that you might be implementing, things that you learn on your property or on property that you're managing. Even if it's not related to this specific program, if there's something that you've learned at a land steward event in the past, and you've gotten ideas either from presenters or from other landowners you've interacted with, or interested in the acres that you're putting things to work on, and that helps us to share impacts with our partners and funders and whatnot. Also want to point out that the slides and other materials related to this presentation are available on our website at that link. I'm going to show you exactly how to navigate to that. If you basically Google the Florida Land Steward, you'll see the UF Florida Land Steward site, and on the homepage, on that last paragraph right there, the Land Steward events and webinar materials are where that link is circled there. If you go to that page, and this particular webinar is right at the top. I also want to point out that we are recording today's webinar, and the recording of that will be available on that page, so you can access it there. All right, I think, yeah, that concludes my introduction. I'm going to stop sharing, and Molly, you can go ahead and share your screen. And thank you for joining us today, Molly and Courtney, and you can take it away.
Thanks, Chris. And hey, everyone. We are going to be talking about the Fields and Forest program today. So thank you so much for joining us. We have our general agenda that we'll be going over. Sorry, just a moment. Molly, it's stuck on the Fields and Forest page. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So like Chris mentioned, my name is Courtney Miller, and I am the account manager for the Fields and Forests program with the American Forest Foundation. I cover all 4 states that we operate in. So if you are ever interested in the program, you'll definitely be speaking to me at one point. Joining us, we also have Molly Hooks, who is our wonderful outreach forester for Georgia. She also dabbles in Florida as well, and any other state that we need her in. She's going to be going over what to expect when enrolling and frequently asked questions. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll answer any kind of questions that you guys have. If for some reason we don't have the answer to the question that you're asking, we'll take it back to our team and make sure that we follow up with an answer for you. So you guys might be wondering, well, what is Fields and Forest? This is a program where we work with Southeastern family landowners to plant and grow loblolly pines on open field land to let them diversify the income from their land while also providing multiple opportunities to generate income. So Fields and Forest is a part of the American Forest Foundation, and you may have also recognized the Family Forest Carbon Program. That is a part of that program. And you may be wondering, well, who is the American Forest Foundation? So we are a national nonprofit organization, and our goal is just to support family forest landowners into caring for their land. And we've been operating since 1932. You also may recognize us as the parent organization to the American Tree Farm System, which we know is quite large in Florida specifically. So why do we offer Fields and Forests? We want to allow farmers to diversify their operations and generate a low maintenance revenue for any underused land while continuing to grow crops and graze cattle on adjacent acres. This program isn't just for farmers. It could be for anyone who has open land that they're wanting to plant trees on. It could be maybe you just purchase property and it's open and you're not quite sure what to do with it. So I just wanted to make that clarification there. The goal is to help reduce barriers and by establishing forest lands by covering all upfront costs and coordinating the planting operation while also providing professional forestry support. By supporting family landowners to grow working pine forest, we're increasing the amount of carbon stored on the land while helping to fulfill our mission of creating a meaningful conservation impact. So just a couple of the basics of the program. All upfront costs are covered by us. So that includes everything from seedlings to site preparation to a forest management plan, and everything in between to get you started. You do receive an annual payment of $30 per acre for every acre that you plant, and you get to keep all timber revenue. So whether that means timber revenue from thinnings or clear cut, maybe recreational purposes, hunting leases, anything like that are yours to keep. The minimum requirements, the minimum acreage requirement is a 30-acre plot. These do not have to be contiguous. So if you do have maybe multiple parcels that add up to 30 that you're wanting to plant, that could also be considered. It is a 30-year contract agreement, so something important to note, but it's easily transferred. So if you do have a property that maybe you want to pass on to your children or your grandchildren, we can definitely assist you with that. And then we also provide fields and foresters. So you get assigned to a forester. That forester is going to walk you through not only the enrollment process, but the forest management process, as well as the planting process. So you'll have someone there. So if you know nothing about forestry, that's okay. We got you covered. So going over what makes a landowner eligible, the property must be located in either Alabama, Georgia, Florida, or South Carolina. Now, with our Florida residents, it's important to know south of Orlando area is not going to be eligible. The property must be privately owned, and again, the project must be at least 30 acres. If you do have less than 30 acres, still reach out to us, as we may have other potential opportunities for you. And the biggest requirement is that the land must not be forested in the previous 10 years. So we do not replant on clear-cut land or land that's previously been forested. We are just talking about open field land that's been that way for at least 10 years. And then lastly, you must have the legal right to harvest the timber and plant trees. Excuse me. So going over some of the benefits with the program. So a big one you guys probably have seen online already is our annual payments. So you are guaranteed an annual payment of $30 per acre. Again, this is an annual payment you receive from us over the course of the contract length, which, just as that reminder, is a 30-year contract agreement. And it is your money, so you can choose to use it however you wish, whether you want to use it for property taxes or mid-management taxes or mid-management practices, or maybe you need a little extra Christmas money. Again, your money, you can choose how to spend it. And payment rates are already accounted for the potential for the carbon market growth. So that essentially was generated by a financial team with the expectations that the carbon credit value will increase over the next 30 years. So that does protect the landowner from any downturns. But we also have it in our contract where if we do see a huge financial gain from the voluntary carbon market, we profit share that with landowners. And if you take a look at the right, you'll see a example of a project map. So giving you just a sample payment offer, this landowner has roughly about 30 eligible acres that you can see in the gray. The payment would be $30 per acre, which would give you an annual payment of $900, with the total payment amount over the 30-year course of being $27,000. So this estimated cost savings was generated by some of our forestry teammates. This is important to note that this is just a general cost analysis and may differ by site, and may differ by state. But going over some of the things that we take care of and just a general value of what it would look like for a 30-acre parcel. So we take care of the site preparation, chemical and mechanical. We also pay for the seedlings and the planting cost and the labor of that. We cover the cost of a post-planting herbicide release treatment. And then we also cover the cost of a forest management plan, which is going to be customized to your land and your land goals. We also have a forester, like I mentioned earlier, that will oversee all of these processes. And then we also have a replanting option. This one specifically refers to if a landowner sees a decrease in their seedling within the first year that's less than 85% of a survival rate, we'll go back and replant for that landowner for free. So general just cost savings that the landowner is receiving from this program is almost $20,000 for a 30-acre parcel. So another thing to mention is going to be our timber revenue. So a lot of landowners will maybe assume that with this program that we keep all of the timber revenue, and that is not true. The landowner gets to keep all revenue that you would receive off of the land. So towards the end of the contract term, you can harvest your pines and sell for a high quality timber. You can also make a profit from midterm thinnings, usually indicated between year 12 and 17, but will just depend on your location and your basal area of your trees at that time. Unlike traditional row cropping, you can work with a forester on a time to harvest based on performance in the timber markets, which will help maximize your potential revenue. So maybe if markets are down this year, maybe you postpone another year or two. And then we also have another replanting option. So should you harvest before the end of the contract period, so before that 30-year contract ends, we will actually replant again at no cost to you, and you're not required to enter into another 30-year contract agreement. So down here at the bottom, just giving you an estimate of what a clear cut would look like of a 30-acre parcel again. Roughly, you would receive an income from that clear cut of about $60,000. So just reiterating some of the financial benefits we've already talked about. So you get the $30 per acre per year. You get cost savings on all of the site prep and planting. Again, that's covered by all of us. It's not a reimbursement program. We pay for it in total. You get a free forest management plan, and then you get to keep all timber revenue. So again, just giving you a general cost analysis of the benefit, financial benefit of the program for a 30-acre parcel, you're looking of a total of a little over $100,000. But the financial benefits are not the only thing that's special about this program. So just wanted to highlight some of the other additional benefits of the program. And usually landowners mention that it's a low maintenance opportunity. So like we mentioned, there's no upfront investment or time commitment. You don't have to go and find out find foresters to work with. You don't have to be present during the planting process. There's no coordination that's needed that's needed from you. We handle all of that for you. Of course, you can be as present in these conversations or in the site preparation as you want, but it's not required. We do have our professional foresters and technicians that will handle that all for you. And there's very little admin that's required. So we do try to make the process of enrolling super simple. Essentially, it's more conversations than paperwork, which is quite lovely. And we're here to help in any way that we can to ease the process for you. And then, of course, loblolly pines is a low maintenance crop. So unlike traditional farming, there's no day-to-day operational needs, and it's easily managed by future generations. What I love hearing most about the program, and landowners that we enroll into the program or that are interested, is they say, I want to make a long-lasting legacy for my land for future generations to come. So it's important to note there's no change in ownership or access. You still maintain full privacy rights and ownership to your land. You're not required to open your land up to the public. And anytime that fields and forest contractors or individuals need to access your property to check on the seedlings, to do site preparation, whatever it may be, we will always coordinate with you and we will not just show up. Of course, by planting trees on adjacent land, you are increasing the wildlife habitat, opportunities for recreation, and then also just providing healthier land for the adjacent farming practices if you choose to still keep some of those operations. And then lastly, we take pride in knowing that we have ongoing support for our landowners. So if you know a lot about forestry, or if you know a little bit about forestry, or you know nothing at all about forestry, that's okay. We have our wonderful staff foresters and senior staff foresters and planting coordinators that will help you throughout the process. And we'll also have a team that's coordinating with you to check in with regular updates, resources, and ways that you can get involved in our community or get connected with landowners that have already been involved in the program. So quickly just going over what the enrollment steps would look like. First thing you want to do is you want to find your property on our website mapping tool. So you can just type in fields and forests online. We'll provide that link at the end of this webinar. If you have difficulties finding your property, do just give us a call or email us and we can help you out. From then, it's going to let you know if you're eligible or not, and you would be able to book a call with an account manager such as myself. You'd be talking about basic eligibility questions, and we'd be collecting information from you. Then if you're interested in moving forward, we would get scheduled with meeting with one of our staff foresters who would come out to your site, confirm your eligibility, talk to you more about your goals, and just making sure that the program's a good fit for you. After the forester visit, you would be sent a project map and a offer package that you would review with your account manager, as well as the contract terms. And then you would be submitted a contract and of course sign that. And then shortly after that, you would receive a forest management plan from us. So the enrollment deadline for planting in 2026 is going to be March 31st. So that is coming up quite soon, just something to take note of. And I am going to pass it over to Molly to go over what to expect when enrolling.
Hi, everyone. My name is Molly Hooks. I'm one of the outreach foresters with the American Forest Foundation, and I do a lot of work in the Fields and Forest program. And I'm going to be talking about what to expect when you enroll in Fields and Forests. So the first step would be a initial site visit, like Courtney mentioned. You're going to get assigned a forester who will schedule a on-site visit with you. You're not required to be there, but you're always welcome if you want to walk the land with the forester, get to know, them and discuss your goals for your property and your forest. That's always welcome, but not required. Ultimately, the forester will walk the land, make sure that the boundaries look correct on our end, make sure all the property boundaries match what we're seeing. They're going to be a point of contact for you for any questions that you might have in regards to the technical side of things, the forestry side of things. We'll collect data that we use to send to your account manager that will help create an offer and plan the project. And usually a few months later, a second visit will be scheduled to install monitoring plots, which allows us to measure the carbon benefit. These monitoring plots, are just wooden stakes that delineate the areas that we measure the carbon benefit. It's usually like 1/4 of an acre. And again, like Courtney mentioned earlier, we won't come onto your property, contractors won't come onto your property without ample notice. Then the next step would be site preparation. Your contracted forester with AFF will oversee site preparation. This usually includes 1 to 2 rounds of chemical site prep using herbicides. Sometimes mechanical site prep is also required, but not always. And usually site prep is conducted in the late summer and fall months, just ahead of winter planting. And if you already use a forester, they are welcome to join. You can send us their information, and we can get them in our system and actually use them as your contracting forester if that is something that you're interested in, and if you have somebody that you work with. Now to the fun part, which is the planting. The loblolly pine seedlings are provided at no cost to the landowner. We have 2 different seedling varieties that we use, coastal or Piedmont, and those are going to be distributed based on where you're located in your geographic region. We also use MCP, mass-controlled pollinated seedlings through ArborGen, which typically leads to faster growing, better quality timber with improved disease and pest resistance compared to standard seedlings. We also have contracting planting crews that will plant these trees under the supervision of an AFF forester. Along with site prep, if you have a consulting forester that you use, they're welcome to join, and you can send us their information and we can get them involved in the project. And then during the first year, we come out to the property usually 6 months to a year after planting to ensure the survival of these pine trees. We have about 85% survival rate, which is our acceptable threshold, which is a pretty higher threshold compared to other programs for successful pine trees within the first year. After planting, you are allowed to do some thinning and harvesting. You must notify AFF about your recommended thinning or harvesting and provide any of the data that we do request. We typically meet the thinning the thinning volume threshold around years 12 through 17. Your consulting forester can help you decide whether or not this is a good time, if the trees are ready, if they're at a certain volume that they are ready to be thinned. Thinning does lead to better quality saw timber down the road. However, in some areas, this is kind of hard to do if you're not close to a pulp mill. And so this is not required by any means, but it can be recommended, especially if the market's showing that it's definitely worth it. If you harvest within the 30-year contract area, or excuse me, 30-year contract period, you are required to replant the harvested area, although AFF will pay to prepare and replant the harvested area within the project area. Treatments such as prescribed burning, chemical, and hardwood release are permitted, but they aren't covered by the program. So prescribed burning can do a really good job at promoting wildlife and biodiversity in these pine stands. However, I would recommend that that's not done until about 10 years into the program, when the loblolly pine gets a little more height and volume on them. But that can be something you can discuss with your forester. But this would not be covered by the program. So just something to keep in mind. That would be something you would have to work with the forester to coordinate on your own. Lastly, we do provide a forest management plan. We'll work with you to create a forest management plan that is tailored to your goals for your property. The forest management plan does cover the planted pines, but it also covers your entire property. So if you have, a 5-acre stand of hardwoods that you want some recommendations on how to treat, we can definitely help you with that and tailor it to what you want your property and your land to look like. This plan serves as a guide for you as you care for your new forest after enrollment. And here's a little timeline for enrollment. About 60 days after signing your contract, you do receive your first payment. Between March and July of 2026, assuming you join this next cohort, you will work with a contracted forester to develop the forest management plan to tailor it to your goals for your land. Around August to October of 2026, that's when site preparation takes place. In December 2026 to March 2027, that's when planting will take place. In November 2027, assessment of those pine seedlings will be conducted to make sure that they're meeting our minimum survival rate. And then the rest of the contract period, years 2 through 30, the forest management plan serves as your guide to manage your newly planted trees. And of course, we'll be there for you along the way if you have any questions, concerns, ideas that you want to discuss with us. Here's some frequently asked questions about the program that we typically get a lot. So how is Fields and Forests funded? We have 3 kind of funding sources, and the biggest one is going to be the voluntary carbon market. So we work with corporations who prepay for carbon credits from us, and the goal is to eventually become funded exclusively by the carbon market. And other organizations also provide us with grants and loans. Those are going to be our second biggest funding source. The private and public philanthropic donors. And on top of that, AFF is a nonprofit organization, which means we don't have any shareholders or investors looking for a return, and we don't make a profit from your land. How are these carbon credits generated? This is basically going to be studied and measured through this term called additionality. So that means going on beyond business as usual. So carbon programs are typically after additional carbon, which means measuring the carbon that would not have been there without our program's help. That would be known as additionality. What would be happening to a piece of land in a baseline or business as usual scenario versus what would happen if this property were to enroll in Fields and Forests. We use dynamic baselines to isolate fields and forests as a single variable that contributes to the carbon being removed. This is actually verified by Vera, which is the leading global carbon credit verifier in the world, not just the United States. And another big question that we get commonly is why loblolly pine? Well, loblolly pine is actually the most common native tree species found in the American Southeast. I know everyone in this call, if you're from Florida, you've probably seen it all along the highways. I know I've grown up seeing it in Georgia. It grows everywhere, and it's a really hardy, resilient tree. It has a pretty fast growth rate. It grows more than 2 feet per year, and it can reach up to a height of 90 feet. Again, it's super adaptable. It's successful in wet lowlands and in dry areas. It is resilient to severe weather. It produces high value timber, and compared to other species, loblolly pine captures and stores carbon more efficiently. Oftentimes we get questions about why aren't we planting longleaf pine? And I'm a big proponent of longleaf pine, but unfortunately the growth rate is just super slow. They stay in a grass stage for 5 to 10 years. And because of that, we aren't able to adequately measure the carbon. And so for now, loblolly pine is the way we're going. And what happens in the event of a natural disaster? We have a safeguard for this. We do not have any penalties to the landowner for any kind of natural disaster. Of course, that includes hurricanes, tornadoes. It also includes wildfire, any kind of forest disease or pests like southern pine beetle or Ips beetle. All of that is taken into an account, and the landowner would not be penalized at all for any kind of natural disaster that is out of their hands. We may replan or adjust the contracted areas due to an event like that. Let me take a sip of water, excuse me. And so to talk about the timber market, since the Fields and Forest Program is aligned with the timber market, we keep an eye on things, and we are going, if you have any questions or concerns about the timber market in the Southeast, like, we're here to talk about it. We're here to address those concerns and talk about it. And one thing that you can see about the Southeast timber market, is that we are very consistent. As you can see in this graph, the brown line is the United States South pine prices. Overall, it's pretty straight. There aren't any unpredictabilities. It's pretty straightforward and predictable. Compared to other places like the Northwest, that orange, I believe it's, no, excuse me, the green line, that's going to be the Northwest Douglas fir prices. As you can see, those are way more all over the place and has a lot more volatility compared to prices in the South. And something on the mind of a lot of landowners is that, in the Southeast, the U.S. timber market is in a decline currently. That's due to many factors, including the impact of Hurricane Helene, with the salvage sales in South Georgia flooding the market, and interest rate hikes eroding the housing affordability. While those are absolute huge concerns to consider, the trends from the last 5 years show consistency as compared to timber markets in other parts of the United States and Canada. Some more about the past and present timber market. Currently, there's a lot of companies relocating operations to the U.S. South because they're attracted by our stable manufacturing costs, lower labor and energy expenses. And as you can see in this bar graph, here we are in the orange, the U.S. South. Year after year since 2019, the Southeast is really producing way more softwood lumber as compared to the Pacific Northwest, Canada, and British Columbia. The United States, the Southeast United States remains a preferred destination for softwood lumber and wood using pulp investment because of the abundant timber resources, a skilled workforce, and a well-developed infrastructure. This is from the UGA College of Agriculture and Environmental Science Field Report of 2024. With all the uncertainties in the market, one thing that we can point to is that the Southeast markets are very consistent compared to other markets in the United States. And to talk about future projections of the timber market. So the World Bank actually predicts that the global demand for timber will quadruple by 2050. More products are being invented and the uses are expanded, which is beating the market fluctuations in saw timber and pulpwood by using both. A good example of this would be mass timber buildings being built using composite boards like OSB and CLT. CLT is cross-laminated timber, and that's actually experiencing a robust growth globally. And it's actually gained widespread acceptance as a new and innovative engineered wood material. So new products such as CLT is going to drive a new demand in the softwood timber market in the Southeast United States. Currently, Georgia and Alabama are the top producers of that softwood lumber, and a good example of a mass timber building is actually in Atlanta. It's the 619 Ponce building. It's the first Georgia-grown mass timber building. That again proves that there's demand for these new products in the forestry products world, like CLT and OSB. And it also you're able to delay the harvest, like Courtney mentioned earlier. You're able to time the harvest of your timber to when the market is doing better versus doing worse. If 1 year, you get to that point of your pines are reaching that good volume and good height and good quality to start to look into thinning, if you need to wait another year to look at what the market is showing, you're able to do that. While in annual crop production, you have to do it year by year on a schedule and not a lot of wiggle room as compared to harvesting pine trees.
So I just wanted to share that we have some limited time offers that we're doing. Fields and Forests has never done these like bonus opportunities or gift card opportunities, so this is super exciting for us. So first is we are offering a $250 Visa gift card to any landowner who goes online, checks their eligibility, schedules a forester visit, and then has a conversation about their offer with an account manager. This does not require you to enroll. You just have to, again, check your eligibility, have a forester visit, and then have another conversation with us to let us know how it went. We'll send that over through email as soon as we get the okay for that. And then we also have a signing bonus offer. So any landowner who signs a contract by March 31st will receive an additional $1,000 or $10 per acre added to their first annual payment, which, like Molly had mentioned earlier, is going to be 60 days after you sign a contract with us. So definitely something to look forward to that. And then our next slide just has our contact information and the web page that you can go and check your eligibility and book a call with us. Down at the bottom, we also have a telephone number and an email. So if you didn't grab our contact information at the beginning of this is our generic phone line that you can get in touch with any of our account managers or foresters that are assisting or our call center representatives that can help answer any questions that you have. So we'll stop here. And does anybody have any questions? I don't see anything in the chat. But
I'll keep our information up too for anyone that wants to write it down or anything. I'll just leave it up.
And feel free to follow back up with that contact information, or again, just reach out to us. Yes, Robert, you have a question.
go ahead and type your question in the chat.
Okay. So Robert, I see you said that you recently purchased a 35-acre farm with baby longleaf planted on it. Unfortunately, with either, unfortunately, your land would not be eligible. So through our program, one, we have to have loblolly, and we do have to have full control over the planting process. So it'd not be suitable for any of the programs that we have. But good to hear that you planted longleaf. That's great. And then we have one more question. Would the value of the initial planting and site prep be considered income and taxed by the IRS? No. So this is not something that we have any kind of documentation on or anything that's in a contract. This is essentially just a new way of sharing the information that we've decided to let landowners know what your potential benefit would be. So no way it could be considered income or taxed. That is a really good point though. So anything over, I think the current taxable income or where you get a 1099 is up to $2,000, I think, per year. So that would be important to know your annual payment that you'd receive from us. If it is over $2,000, you would receive a 1099, but just the annual payment. Great questions. Anything else?
I'll go ahead and mention related to other species. If you're watching this and you think, well, I'm not interested in loblolly pine and I don't have open fields. Stay tuned because the other carbon programs we're going to be featuring in January actually. At least one of those does work with landowners who are planting or interested in longleaf pine. So don't walk away from this thinking that if I'm not interested in if I'm not interested in other species and I don't have open fields, then carbon markets aren't for me. There are some other types of programs and opportunities out there. And there's other creative ways that programs are addressing the additionality issue as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, and Molly, I'll let you answer that question in the chat there. But before I just it sparked an idea in my mind. Just wanted to mention we have a silvopasture practice that will be live in 2026. So if there are situations where maybe you're still farming, like I said, we don't want anyone to continue to do that. Still reach out to us. You don't have to convert all of your land if you don't want to. And then we also have a new practice coming out that's going to be called silvopasture. That's going to allow landowners to continue to be using their land for grazing while also still planting. This is still in the pilot phase, so we haven't figured out all of the specifics of it, but we'll have that information available to landowners hopefully sometime mid-January. So if that's something you're more interested in, still do check your eligibility. Just let us know and we'll make sure to reach back out to you.
Yeah, good point, Courtney. That's a really good point. I've had a lot of landowners that are still running cattle, at least in parts of their land, and they want to continue in the pine planted areas. And so I'm looking forward to that coming live in 2026. Looks like I got a question from Nia. If a field has some but not many trees on it, what would be the threshold for it to be considered a forest and not eligible? So we do, we'll plant around, like if there's a patch of hardwood trees in a field, sometimes that's common, especially in those old pastures, like a patch of hardwoods in the middle of a field. We'll usually plant around that. However, if a field has like overgrowth of volunteer hardwoods, pines that are usually about, I would say like 3 to 4 to 5 feet, and they reach a canopy cover of 10% or more, that's when we cannot enroll. So I would say the best way to confirm that is to schedule a call with our team. That will get you kind of into the pipeline, and a forester can look at aerial imagery to make sure that what your land looks like is eligible for our program. And then from there, we can conduct a site visit to confirm that. And yes, thank you, Courtney. You can harvest pine straw in our program. Any other questions?
Well, I think, like we had mentioned, if you do have any questions, then here is our telephone number. Here is our email address as well. You can also reach out to Molly and I direct, and we'd be happy to assist you in any way that we can.
Okay, very good. Well, while there's a lull in the questions, if you guys will end your sharing, and I'll put up my concluding slides with the evaluation link. There we go. You see my screen up there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do have questions, if you think of something, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we can still be available to answer questions at this point. But in the meantime, I want to encourage everyone to please participate in our short evaluation. That QR code on the screen will take you to a very quick evaluation, take you a couple minutes to answer a few questions. Also, if you'd like to access Courtney and Molly's slides, those are available on our website right now. You can go to that link, go to the Florida Land Steward site, and click on events, 2025 events and materials on that page. And her slides are available for download as a PDF document. So yeah, I'll keep that QR code up there so people can access that before I switch it over to our concluding slides. I'll also note that I'll send an email to everybody tomorrow with that link again, just to give you another chance to get to that evaluation in case you didn't access it today. I know that link is probably not linkable on your screen. So if you can't use the QR code, I'll email everybody with an actual link tomorrow so you can get to that evaluation. But we can stay on for a little while here and hang on for questions. Do appreciate everybody for joining us today, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for our other forest carbon webinars that are coming up in this series. We'll have two more. I think one is going to be, I still have to get them on the calendar. I think one is going to be January 15 and the other is going to be January 21st, but I need to confirm those and get those on the calendar. I will also note that I'm sending out another Florida Land Steward email update this coming Friday with some news on programs and opportunities. That may be the last update before the holidays, unless I get something something urgent that needs to be sent out the following week. Oh, there you go. There's another question for you guys. James. And y'all are both muted.
Sorry. Are you, James, are you referring to payments? I guess I can kind of just share that if I'm understanding that question correctly, and if I'm not, I'm so sorry. So essentially, there is a clause in the contract referring to additional payments if the voluntary carbon market increases or voluntary carbon credit increases. So right now we have an estimated threshold of what that is, and the contract itself has already accounted for what we suspect the initial or the increase will be in the next 30 years. So we do have a clause that states that if the credit does increase past the initial threshold that we thought, then essentially those payments would be then given back to the landowners, so to speak. So I think Molly mentioned this earlier. We don't have stakeholders. We're a nonprofit organization, so we have no intentions on holding on to any of those additional payments that we receive. As far as other ways that payments could increase, we don't currently have anything in the contract clause that would that account for like inflation or anything like that.
And answer your other question, James, as well. Usually the basal area that is needed before you can thin is around 120 basal area. And we can make sure and help you to make sure that you're meeting that volume requirement.
So the penalty is quite steep. It is 2.5 times the annual payments that you'd receive from us at a given time. So to give you a little explanation, an example of that, let's say that the landowner has received $1,000 from us just in annual payments. Just want to make that clear. You never have to pay us back for the trees, the site prep, or any work that we do. We're just referring to annual payments. You sign a contract with us, and then a few years down the road, 10 years, whatever it may be, you decide that you want to cut all the trees down without a forester permission and build a Walmart. That is going to be a breach of contract if you're cutting down all the trees that's not in your forest management plan or not confirmed with a qualified forester. Same situation would apply if you just decide one day that you don't want to participate anymore for whatever reason that may be. What would happen is, give an example at year 10, let's say you had received $1,000 from us so far, you would have to pay us back 2.5 times that amount. So you would owe us back $2,500. The penalty is there just to discourage landowners, of course, from breaching the contract. And it's just important to note that even though that is a large penalty fee, it doesn't nearly cover the cost that we are taking the risk in. So essentially what happens to the carbon credits that we've pre-sold is they weren't fully developed if you terminate your contract early. So then those carbon credits that we were intending to get off of your land are then void. So we not only have to find a new landowner to help compensate for that loss, but then also we can't go back on your property and take your trees back, right? So essentially you get to keep the trees, of course, and any kind of profits or anything like that you would receive off of that. So just kind of a quick explanation on why that penalty fee is so high. I will say that we have not had a landowner breach the contract with Fields and Forests, and we hope to keep it that way. We do have contract templates also that we send out well beforehand, before you're even, given your official contract. So if you inquire, want to talk to your account manager, and then we schedule you for a forester visit. The next step is we send you an email with what we call our introduction package, which essentially goes over all the information that we've just reviewed on these slides, as well as a contract template. So you can have that well before you need to make a decision. That way we want to make sure that you have plenty of time to talk to your account manager, talk to your forester, and fully understand what terms would apply in the next 30 years.
Okay. Very good. I'm going to go ahead and advance my slides to some concluding slides here. Again, we'll be on for another few minutes. If you've got any last minute questions you want to put in the chat, we'll be here for those. Again, here is the Florida Land Steward homepage, and where you can find the events, the materials for all of our events. We also have other materials for tours, the booklets that we provide at our tours. They're all available there as PDF, all webinar slides and other links and materials related to webinars we've done in the past are all there available for you to download. So I can encourage you to visit our website and see what's available. Our events calendar is there as well. That's where we post all upcoming events that are provided by our program and our partners. Our Forest Landowner Academy is an online course that's available for you to enroll in. It's a 7-module course covering everything from management planning, assessing your resources, timber management, wildlife management, non-timber forest products, succession planning, and we're adding a forest health module right now as we speak that should be ready to go in probably mid to late January. So we will keep everyone posted on those developments in our email updates and other outlets. I want to thank all of our partners for supporting us. All these partners listed on the screen here support us either financially or via content shared on a regular basis via our newsletter and other deliverables that we put together on a regular basis. We couldn't do this program or any of our offerings without the support and the help of all of our partners. And all these folks are interested in private lands management, and we partner closely with all of them in all of our efforts. And of course, the American Forest Foundation is the parent organization over the Florida Tree Farm Program and all of the state affiliate tree farm programs across the country. So you all probably have some familiarity with the Florida Tree Farm Program, and all products that are certified by the Florida Tree Farm Program or the American Tree Farm System are a part of that Sustainable Forestry Initiative chain of custody. So your products are a part of a certified chain of custody. And of course, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative Implementation Committee supports our program each year, helps us with our operational costs. So wanted to acknowledge all of our partners in the Land Steward Program before we take off today. Just checking if there's any more questions. I don't see any coming in, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Courtney and Molly, if you will hang out there, I'm going to go ahead and end the event very soon here. If you can hang on, and we'll conclude with you. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for our webinar today. Please get a hold of us if you've got any questions. You've got our contact information, and I'll be sending out a note tomorrow with that evaluation link. I'll also include a link to our materials page so you can access those. So without any further questions, we will go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great afternoon.